Today, we're going to walk through something pretty incredible. It's not just an idea for a community, it's a full-blown operational blueprint, a plan to build a place of healing from the ground up. And I mean every single detail is mapped out. Let's get into it. Seriously, just stop and think about that for a second. If you were handed a blank slate, a piece of empty land, and told to build a new society, where would you even start? Okay, now let's make it even more specific. What if the mission wasn't just to build, but to heal? To create a sanctuary for military veterans struggling with trauma, and at the same time, to take a piece of damaged former industrial land and bring it back to life? Well, that is the exact challenge a project called the Good Shepherd Homestead and Sanctuary decided to take on. And what they came up with is less of a plan and more like an entire self-contained operational universe. So what is this place really? Well, at its absolute core, it's designed to be a living sanctuary. That's the whole point. The entire model is built around the central idea of creating a space for deep, meaningful healing. And here's their official mission statement. You got to pay attention to those key phrases: living sanctuary, healing, purpose, and sustainable livelihoods, because those words are the foundation for every single thing we're about to look at. And look, this isn't just some high-minded talk. This picture shows you their philosophy in action. The housing for veterans, it's not apartments or barracks. They're these incredible earth-bermed hobbit cabins. The very architecture is trauma-informed. It's designed to feel safe, grounded, and literally connected to the earth. Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts. How do you actually run a community like this? Well, it all comes down to two big ideas: loops and covenants. This is basically the project's DNA. The whole homestead runs on 21 interconnected systems they call loops. You can think of them like the organs in a body, all working together. The mission is protected by this clever dual LLC structure that creates a legal moat, separating the businesses from the sanctuary. And the whole culture, everything, is guided by a foundational covenant of care. And here's the genius of how they make it all sustainable. This is their financial engine. Any profit that comes from the commercial businesses, the homestead, gets split three ways. 40% goes right back into funding the nonprofit sanctuary. Another 40% is reinvested to grow the businesses. And this is key: 20% goes into a special fund just for replicating the whole model in new places. Commerce literally funds the covenant. As you can imagine, building a self-sustaining world from nothing doesn't come cheap. The blueprint calls for $4.2 million to get one single site completely up and running. And that covers everything: land, housing, the renewable energy systems, the whole shebang. All right, so we've seen the theory, but what does this actually look like day to day? How do these loops really connect and work together? The entire system, and I mean all of it, is built on this one powerful idea, borrowed straight from nature: waste is food. In this model, there is no such thing as trash. Every output from one system is designed to be the input for another.
Here's a perfect simple example of how that works. The restaurant on site has used cooking oil. Instead of throwing it out, it gets sent to the energy loop, where it's turned into biodiesel. That fuel then powers the tractors in the agriculture loop. But wait, there's more. The byproduct of making that fuel, glycerin, becomes the raw material for making soap in the artisan loop. A perfect circle. Nothing is wasted.
And these connections, these synergies, have a massive financial impact. The renewable energy systems alone are expected to save up to $150,000 a year on utilities. Their system for sharing surplus materials between different sites could cut construction costs by almost a third. And their subscription box service, the Shepherd Boxes, is projected to become a huge part of their revenue. You know, when they say this system is detailed, that's really an understatement. It is obsessively detailed. The operational guide has multi-page, non-negotiable protocols for almost anything you can think of, right down to the correct way to handle and dispose of baby wipes. The level of meticulous planning is it's unlike anything I've ever seen. But all of this incredible systems engineering, all the loops, the tech, the protocols, it's all just the machinery. And it exists to serve one purpose: restoring people. So let's talk about the human side of this. At the heart of the veteran program is this journey called the Shepherd Path. It isn't just about giving someone a place to live. It's a fully structured 6-phase curriculum specifically designed to help veterans move from a place of crisis to one of real purpose and leadership within the community. Now, this is just fascinating. They understand that culture is built through language, so the community has its own intentional vocabulary. They don't have employees, they have stewards. They don't sign contracts, they enter into covenants. This isn't just branding, it's a deliberate way to shape the entire environment and reinforce the mission every single day.
And that culture shows up in very real, specific ways. There's a life buddy protocol that pairs up veterans so nobody has to walk their path alone. Conflict isn't handled by some HR department, it's resolved by peers through dialogue at a place called the Founders Table. And there are even sacred spaces like the Amphitheater of Testimony, built for the sole purpose of honoring people's stories of healing.
So you've got this incredibly complex, holistic system for one location. But the vision is so much bigger than that. This entire model was engineered from day one to be copied, to be multiplied. So how do you make sure every copy is a perfect copy? You give the whole network a central nervous system. They built a proprietary software called Ruach AI that acts as the digital steward. Every single action, from a maintenance check on a water pump to a financial transaction, gets logged in an unchangeable, time-stamped record. It's the technological backbone of the entire mission. But it's not just about the tech. The replication process is deeply human. To launch a new homestead, a special 21-person replicator team actually goes and lives on the new site for a full month. They oversee everything, train everyone, and make sure every single protocol is transferred with absolute fidelity before they do a ceremonial handoff. And after all that, the loops, the AI, the replicator teams, it all leads to this one final, fascinating question. The Good Shepherd Homestead might be one of the most thoroughly designed models for a community ever conceived. But can a perfect blueprint, no matter how detailed or brilliant, actually engineer a thriving, soulful community? Now that is something to think about.